Welcome to ABC Real Time Talk Show in English, and this is Sinha MA Sayeed. And today our points of discussion shall rotate around America-India nexus and Bangladesh after elections to the 12th Parliament. This is very important from the point of view of recent happenings in the South Asia, especially Myanmar. And to suit the very purpose, we invited some guests, and they are from Dr. Saim, Faisal Amir. He is a financial economist and vice chairman of Zaker party, one of the leading political party in Bangladesh in the Islamic world. How are you, Dr. Saim?
I'm very well, Dr. Sinha. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Other Professor Dr. Rezwana. Basically, she is Professor of Anthropology, Jahangirnagar University, Dhaka. And at the same time, she is one of the leading political analysts. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Other being Barrister Asaduzzaman Fuaad, Joint Member Secretary in charge of International Department of AB Party. It is a newly floated political party in Bangladesh. How are you, Barrister Fuaad?
I'm fine, thank you, Dr. Sinha. I'm sorry for late.
Well, let us start from you. Barrister Fuaad, you know very well today our point of discussion is America-India nexus and Bangladesh election to the 12th Parliament and the landscapes centering all these things. And you know very well one of the crux of the problem is today Myanmar, and Bangladesh having borders with Myanmar very small, not so large. What is your understanding about America-US nexus and Bangladesh standing in between the two? Barrister Fuaad.
Thank you. I think the first and the foremost crisis that this regime has is they are unable to govern. I think it's not about the failure of this regime. Our successive governments had a profound and persistent failure to govern. And this crisis of governance had affected in every aspect of be it the fire at Bailey Road or the sugar storage in Chittagong or the road accidents on a daily basis or the corruption, you name it. And of course, the foreign policy is no different to it. So the crisis is the regime is so incompetent and politicians at large from both aisles, I would say, that are so incompetent, they hardly know the departments they are engaged in or they're performing their duties in. And that affects our foreign policy. Now, of course, in every foreign relationship, there are crises, there are challenges, and there are challenges in every neighborhood. Every relationship has its own problems. But the issue is, as a state, as a representative government, how you deal with it. Now, with regard to Burma and India, our inevitable neighbor, the problem is we do not know much of the country that we are dealing with. Say for Burma, our intelligence agencies do not have sufficient information about what's going on inside Burma or the neighboring states, be it Shin or Rakhine or the central government or the alliances or the militias fighting in different parts, or even the fringes within every state that is fighting the military junta and the NUG government. Now, why we don't have that information? Because our sole agencies, all of them, the responsibility is to deal with the opposition within. They're busy crushing the BNP and the Jamaat and the other opposition forces in the country. The whole focus has been dealing within. Yet, our business is not always within. We have other businesses across the border. And most of the time you hear about all the skirmishes going on across the border. And that is not all about. This is the very basic informations about the confrontations and the conflict going on there. Rather than the deep inserted crisis of the government across the border, we have no clue, in fact. And same relates to India as well. When we talk about India, we are only dealing with our bilateral issues, very minor issues, border skirmishes, cattle trading, Indian interference into our politics. But how much we do understand India as a whole? What does it mean? How India works? It's not a monolithic micro unit as such that this is like the apple. This is how it looks like in India. It's not. It's a nation of nations. It's a country of very diverse population of faith, of religions, of creed and caste, and linguistic communities and tribals and living in the plains. And we do not know much of it. So only thing we know about the cinemas that has been released at the Bollywood, or the who is singing at the Animal, or what was the debate of that musician or the singer. That was the limitation of our foreign policy dealing with the matter within the governance, and that's why you would see that most of the politicians do not have any clue, in fact, what's going on across the border, how much they know about the states within. There are 9 or 10 states in India bigger than Bangladesh. So you can imagine, like Uttar Pradesh, the largest one, so massive. So they have their own internal crises, own issues, how they look at people across the border on the other side. They have their own clashes. You have noticed there has been debate in the South for an independent South, the United States of South, or Southern states of India. They are proposing a different state. There are at least on 6, 7 fronts, Indian military is fighting within their country. Look at Kashmir, how they are dealing with it. The only Muslim majority state, they cannot handle it. So India is not a monolithic place to deal with it. But our crisis is, we do not have any research-based work. We do not have any think tank in the country who can work independently dealing with the external affair matters. While India has, despite being poor and underperforming in terms of their own governance, the hundreds of think tanks and research institutions on defense, on foreign policies, on their internal issues, yet we do not have one. Our own experts, the so-called experts, the former ambassadors and so on, they just read the newspapers and just digest out on the television screen. So that's not the end of the crisis. That's not our understanding of India. So what I found...
Barrister Fuaad, I will come to you. What is your understanding about Bangladesh-America nexus and its impact on Myanmar's issue? Dr. Saim.
Thank you, Dr. Sinha, for having me. Well, as you understand, economically, Bangladesh is going through an extremely challenging period right now. We have what we call the impossible trinity, high volatility in exchange rate as well as high inflation. At the same time, we have depleting reserves, we have high unemployment, and compounded on top of all of this, we have depleting foreign exchange reserves. In a situation like this, as you understand, the Burmese as well as the Chinese as well as the Indians, every single economy will look after its own financial interests. Bangladesh has to look out for its own. In no capacity can we engage in a security compromising warfare with our neighbors, whether it's India or if it's Myanmar, or in the very case, if there is global interventionism in Bangladesh. We wish that Bangladesh does not become a playground for proxy warfare. And in terms of our geo-regional economic security, Bangladesh cannot afford, especially with our plummeting reserves right now, we cannot afford for diplomatic warfare to engage into a hot warfare. Well, a couple of days back, as we were discussing amongst ourselves as well on the economic front, our maritime waters gives Bangladesh a potentiality of close to $2 trillion worth of economy. And regarding the deep sea ports, if we can fully have functional deep sea ports in the next 5 to 10 years, the global maritime economy is worth $60 trillion. So as you understand, global interventionist powers, whether it's India or China or America, will not only look at Bangladesh's land, but will give substantial and consequential importance to the Bay of Bengal. And this, I believe, will be part of our American-Bangladesh nexus going ahead in the future. And Exxon has already proposed to the Bangladeshi government regarding exploration for oil in the Bay of Bengal, as well as the Bangladeshi South. And this is something that we have to tread with caution, of course. These large American companies, of course, come with their own vested economic interests, as well as their economic and political interests as well. So this is something that we have to bear in mind as Bangladesh presently mediates an economic crisis as well as a foreign policy crisis right now. On the nexus regarding the United States of America, we have to understand this is our global investment partner, and there is a trade inequity close to $20 billion with China and $10 billion with India. And going into the future, we have to ensure that the trade deficit that we currently have in our current accounts, that we reduce it down to at least to $5 to $7 billion with our partners India. And with regards to China, as you may have already seen, there is a deflationary crisis that is happening in China right now, which makes the trade prospects with Bangladesh even more significantly more counterintuitive, in the sense that we need a current account surplus with China as we head into the new era of global economics. And regarding the security front, Fuaad Bhai has touched on a very important issue. And regarding our economic sovereignty, and I say economic sovereignty with the double quote and unquote, Bangladesh has to look after its geopolitical interest as well as its geo-economic security. But we have to ensure that we do not punch above our own weight. We have to know the reality of our economic challenges. And when America comes to the negotiating table, you have to give it the respect that it deserves. It is the largest economy by far. The American stock market is worth close to $50 trillion US. Global sovereign wealth funds have invested in American financial markets. And it's about time that Bangladesh not only gives export orders or takes import orders from America, but at the same time, we have to invest in the future. As well as our European counterparts, we have to invest in global financial markets. And this is where I believe that we can have an interlinkage with our Dhaka Stock Exchange, as well as the American New York Stock Exchanges, as well as the NASDAQ stock exchanges. And this is, I believe, the nexus going into the future. Bangladeshis deserve to have pension funds that invest not only in Bangladeshi securities, which there are a lot of structural fallacies, but so that we can have a gateway to invest in global financial markets. And there's no stock market more liquid and more financially rewarding than the American financial markets. But at the same time, it of course comes with geopolitical caveats. And this, I believe, our speakers, who I will hand over the microphone to, I believe will cover more of the political interests that surround Bangladesh's economic trajectory in the future.
Thank you very much. Here, Mr. Advocate Syed Mamun Mahbub. He has joined now. Mr. Mamun Mahbub, you are also the Central Coordinator of United Lawyers for Affirm.
Thank you for having me. And sorry for late because...
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry for my late because I am not very well equipped with the technological knowledge. Okay, thank you.
No problem. You just go. You have You give 7 minutes. Within 7 minutes, you just touch the nexus between America and India and its immediate impact on Bangladesh, especially after elections to the 12th Parliament. Yes, Advocate Mamun, please.
Yes, so far I heard Barrister Fuaad and Professor Dr. Saim. They discussed in a very lucid manner the USA-India nexus and Bangladesh aftermath of so-called election, 12th Parliament, what you have mentioned in your topic. But I would like to narrate rather than nexus, US-Bangladesh. I am worried about the future of my country. I am worried about the security of my country, of the people of Bangladesh, and their rights and their livelihood and everything. Because Dr. Saim has rightly said the various interests of global geopolitical, geo-economical, and the other things. Once Churchill said that every country decides their foreign policy on their for their interest. But difficulty in my country, what Barrister Fuad has just discussed, that we have no knowledge-based any principle, and even it is it cannot be expected, because when we have lost our right to choice our managers or the governments who will run the country to serve the people as per Article 11 and 7 of the Constitution, we have lost that right since 2014. So difficulty and the problem is there. And I was hearing my other co-discussants. India, in fact, is a very complex state, and Indian government since 1971. You know, once D.P. Dhar, one of the lieutenant of Mrs. late Indira Gandhi, he in our liberation war, he once uttered in front of Indira Gandhi, Her Excellency, either you are dividing Pakistan or you are creating two Pakistan by helping the ongoing liberation war. So you understand that psyche. So they, from the beginning, they thought that their foreign policy was to divide Pakistan. But our struggle was to autonomy and then the independence and then our self-determination. So in 1971, our struggle, the aspiration of our people and the foreign policy of India, that matched. And that's why India helped. And yes, we are grateful for that. But that does not mean necessarily that we will be acting like unofficial state of Union of India. So this is the beginning of our disturbing and no foreign policy, and always one political party is seriously pro-India, not only India, pro-Indian government, and another big forces, sometimes they are logically anti-India, sometimes they are not logically pro-India. We need to discuss in a very patriotic sense. Yes, once the Indian Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, though from BJP, but he was far better than the present one. He said, you can change your friend, but you can't change your neighbor. So if you want to make good relation with your neighbor, then it would be better for both the country, or you will go into the war with them, both the country will suffer. So we would not like to go war with our neighbor or anybody, but at the same time, we should not bow down the ill will or various anti-Bangladesh policy taken by India time to time. But difficulty, because I would like to discuss the basic feature of our country now. Now the problem is this government is without mandate of the people. That's why 46 people died. They did not bother. Rather, they want advice. Why you are going there? Since you don't know, that there is no fire safety and etc. And I think all more discussions and the very prominent anchor, Dr. Sinha, is very much aware that once Hassanullah Inu uttered of our late one of Islamic scholar, quote unquote, Tetul Hujur. But now we are seeing there is another Hujur surfaced from yesterday that is called Borui Hujur. So you see the audacity of our one of the ministers, that they are trying to now dictate what they will eat, how they will break their fasting. So whole attitude, because I am intellectual like, at all not intellectual like Barrister Fuaad, my good friend, or the young and very good intellectual Professor Dr. Saim Amir Faisal, and obviously very eminent intellectual and prominent Professor Dr. Rezwana. So I am the person of the street, and I love to stay in the street, not to the power or to sycophancy of power. So the basic problem is that we have lost our all emotions. And I always try to say, Bangladesh has forgotten to protest. Usually, the tragedy took place in Belly Road. It was the very natural expectation. And if at all any democratic government, minimum democratic government, just after 5 years, regularly interval, people can exercise their voting right. Then the following day was to be the National Mourning Day. The extension of the so-called camp should be stopped, and all other concerts and other things. But they don't bother because they don't servant of the people. They don't believe in the concept of a state. I would like to say spade to a spade. They think that my father has liberated you, so it is our legal, it is our hereditary right to rule this country, and the people, republic, this concept, citizen, they are unaware and they don't believe that. And all the problems started from that psyche, that we are the owner. We are not the fellow citizen with all other citizens. And one thing I would like to thank, though is very, they are very rightist, Hindu rightist, fundamentalist, but Narendra Modi is in one aspect, in one sector, he is successful, that he has destroyed the virus of dynasty politics in India. But unfortunately, we are in that virus of dynasty politics. And not only in the center, in every district, every Upojala, you see, one father is the chairman of Upojala, son is the chairman of Union Parishad, daughter-in-law is the lady vice chairman. So it is a nexus of evil desires of those persons. That's why your topic is very interesting. The US, India, nexus, and Bangladesh. My simple understanding, every country will look their own interest. We are looking our interest. We are in the age of middle age because we lost our spirit of independence of movement 1971, which present government very much like in every time, quote unquote, Mukti Juddha Chetona. So we understand our constitution speaks that the basic principle of liberation of world was to right to vote or to right to my representative who will run the government. And now we are deprived from that right since 2014. Though there was a series of struggle, the present regime and others also.
Please, I will come to it again. Well, Professor Dr. Rezwana.
Thank you.
You listen to all the three speakers. They spoke from their own point of view and from their standpoints. What are your analyses about the whole thing which is going on in Bangladesh and the neighboring countries, especially in Myanmar? Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. It was really a pleasure to hear such learned person. I would like to appreciate all of you, and it's really nice to hearing all of them. The thing is that I'm an anthropologist, and my job is to know the human being and the nature and the society surrounding us. And when you talk about aftermath of the election and what is the relationship between the India, US, and Bangladesh, and of course Myanmar, the recent burning crisis, what I'd like to pointing out, the thing is that the relationship between India and Bangladesh is historic. And of course, the three borders are related with us. And this historical relationship make us to think there is some kind of gratitude, of course, during the liberation. They helped us. But at the same time, it's very important to understand the historical analysis of that particular action. I would like to refer a book. His name is I can remember there's a military person, and he said that in his book that he requested to Indira Gandhi that during the 1971, it was an opportunity of the century to help Bangladesh and to separate Bangladesh from Pakistan. So there is a political interest from the beginning till now. So this is a very natural process, of course, but at the same time, we need to understand right now what is the crisis is going on. The crisis is not like the all of a sudden is going on. I'd like to pointing on, and I'd like to focus the issue. And the thing is that if you can remember in 2019, India confirmed a Citizen Amendment Act, and Citizen Amendment Act was an anti-Muslim act. And what is over there? There's in particular three countries: Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan. If anyone is non-Muslim, and in particular is Hindu, Jain, or Buddhist, or Christian, they can come and they can work. After 6 years, they can claim Indian citizenship. That time we did not prioritize. That time we did not prioritize why it has happened, why they took such initiative. That was really very important. India has a long project to articulate Bangladesh as quote unquote a pure Muslim, quote unquote a terrorist country as well. This thing has never been pointing out. India wants to destroy our diversity. India also wants to destroy the harmony in our country, which protect them to understand that Bangladesh is going to be a secular country. This idea has been interrupted by India continuously and spontaneously. And the control of India in Bangladesh from kitchen to the trade market, from our kitchen to the trade market, they want to control us in a very different manner. And this thing we need to acknowledge and address very articulately. And also I would like to pointing out right at this moment that China has been very dominating, in particular when they are Mamun bhai going to tell something. I think I have listening some other thing. Anyway, what I am trying to pointing out, like when we talk about Myanmar, right at this moment, Myanmar crisis is a very important crisis, and Barrister Fuaad significantly pointing out the research. Not even, I really wonder, is there any research our political party or even our people ever understood the significance of any research work? Because neither the policymakers, none of us have ever been focused on any form of research, whether it's a political research, economic research, human research, social research, whatever it is. And also I would like to pointing out, like China has a very special interest in Myanmar, and we all know, and right now what is happening, what is the interference of US government? Because US government, if you look around the world, there is a lots of election happening in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Taiwan and other country, and USA continuously lose his control, his power among those countries. So this is also a change and shifting of power. Like it's really very hard to understand right at this moment. Are we losing democracy, or we're going for an authoritarian government each and everywhere? And also there is a rise of quote unquote the particularly extremist or what should I say? The people who are conservative, they are rising. If you see India, BJP is very, very much extremist. Hindus are there, we all know, and they got the support. If you go look forward other country, you can see that the people are rising over there. So this change, this shift of the whole world also impactful, and need to understand why. And as we assume right now, maybe Trump will form the next government of US. So this thing actually let us really revisit what is going on the whole politics in the world all around, because people somehow are not prioritizing the ethics, prioritizing the historical, prioritizing their values or sentiment, rather than they're prioritizing something very much, what should I say, capitalist movement, or maybe they're prioritizing something like emotional attachment or something like that. But this need to understand what is going on in the world, and it also affects our Bangladeshi politics as well, and Bangladesh as well. And of course, the running government is very much oppressive. The running government is very much, what should I say, this government is not very human friendly. And also very important to understand, right now there's no opposition. Like a few days ago, whatever is going on is government versus the ordinary people rising their voice. Ordinary people are asking for their civil rights. Ordinary people are asking for their safety. Ordinary people are asking for their rights and all those things. So this, because of the lack of oppositional hold in the politics, somehow they manage to use all the institutional forces, and they just vanished away all the opposition leaders and politicians as well. The parliament has been occupied by the businessmen instead of politicians. So it's really alarming for the nation that what is going on, because they are, if you just look back, just 2 days ago, there is a person who was our minister before, and still now he's a parliament member, and he offered a press conference, and he said that he got more than I think 3,000. I cannot remember the exact amount. That he got a lot of property, and he openly said, "I am a businessman. Firstly, I am a businessman. Then I am a politician." Where he is the person, he's the member of the parliament. So he is prioritizing the business rather than serving the nation, serving the people.
I will come to you. Rezwana, I will come to you, please.
Sure.
Barrister Fuaad, you listen to all the four speakers, and you also spoke in the past. How do you feel that Bangladesh should have better future? Do you feel better future the coming days? Taking into account
right. I think just to do justice to the topic, understanding the nexus, we need to first dissect what brings together both the Indian side and the American side with regard to Bangladesh. There are a number of issues. One is that, is there a trade to do a lot of things in Bangladesh for a size of economy like India or America? As Dr. Saim had rightly said, trade between India and Bangladesh is around $15-16 billion. If we add up to remittance and the illegal trading between the borders, it should go around $25 billion to $30 billion max. Now, for economy of $3 to $5 trillion, the Indian size is a huge, and they can easily avoid this size of trade with regard to their global exposure to trade. Now, what trade America does with Bangladesh, we are mostly exporting to Americans. It's not America exporting to Bangladesh. Now, is there anything that contradicts or brings together both sides? And to my understanding, no, there is nothing with regard to trade and commerce that binds America and India together. So what binds it? There are only two aspects that binds the interest between America and India and Bangladesh. One is geopolitics, the sheer geography of Bangladesh, where we are by the Bay of Bengal leading to the Pacific and Indian Ocean. And if you look at the map, from Bay of Bengal and the South China Sea are the largest water body that from the littoral country leads to the Atlantic and the Indian Ocean. So this is a sheer mutual influence sphere where both America and India would like to play their own part of the territories and have their own influence. And you know, many of our water territory are somehow occupied illegally, in contravention to the international law by India. Say for Talputty Island, and there are many other water space. And we often hear about surveillance into our water by the Indian Navy and other ships. This is a clear breach of our international air and water sovereignty. And also our air is somehow interfered by Indian. Our air force or even our domestic plane services doesn't have any sophisticated and independent commissioned system of satellite which can monitor planes or any other drones or any other instruments coming in and out of our sky. So that is somehow also India interfering. And India also earns money out of this. Hundreds of billions of dollars India had earned because we don't have the really up-to-date satellite system to monitor the flights in and out of the country where we can earn money, Bangladesh as a country. We didn't have that for the last 4 decades. And what are the other factor that binds America and India together is about the existence of China, the China containment policy. Now, both India and America wants China to be contained, to block their access to the raw materials brought in and out to import and export markets. Now, it's a huge, if you look at the Chinese border, it's a country with little access to sea. So they feel through our Rakhine state to the Kunming, these are the places they can easily access to the Bay of Bengal, and they're installing the pipelines and developing other facilities. And this is something America doesn't want China to get in. And it's basically a chokehold that America wants to do, block Chinese access to the Bay of Bengal leading to the Indian and Pacific Ocean. And why it is necessary, if you look back from the importing the energy route, it is the China's main place where they can bring out, they can import their oil and gas. Otherwise, the second option, they have the South China Sea, but that also costs a lot of money. They have to come around a lot of ways to the Southeast Asia into the eastern side of China and then get into the mainland. So this is a geopolitics where America and India comes together containing China. Now, the problem is within America and India, there are also similarities, but they have some divisions as well. Now, India has a serious reservation, America coming in to the Indo-Pacific and taking control or increasing their influence in the region. India are the ones, their own oceanic sphere of influence. And that's why you've seen within the Indo-Pacific countries, India holds their own conference with the local member states that share the Bay of Bengal and the South China Sea areas. But which America doesn't want it. America wants their own. Secondly, with regard to China, China is also a huge investor into India. Hundreds of billions of dollars of investment in India. So whatever we see on the northern upper side, Himalayan region, the conflicts and the skirmishes between China and India, it is highly unlikely that that would lead to a proper full-scale war because simply the economic interests, they cannot afford it. So what other matter that India is concerned with regard to Bangladesh is their territorial integrity. There are two ways that territorial integrity can be compromised. One way is Bangladesh has a border with 7 Indian states, which we call the 7 sisters. That's the one way that Bangladesh can be used or Bangladesh can decide to interplay and make the Indian territory compromised with regard to their security and other ways possible. The second concerning point is through the Rakhine state. Rakhine has a choking point and border with a number of Indian states as well. So if America and works together with Bangladesh in Rakhine and other places, India is fearful that it can be used to compromise their territorial integrity because it is also close to China. And with regard to interest and the type of people live there and their languages and the investment in China has, close to $40 billion dollar investment already done in Rakhine state. So simply India is fearful that coming into that place either through war or either through geopolitical relationship, is a China, obviously Pakistan would follow in. That is the fear that India has. So these are the concerning points. So when we talk about nexus, we need to look at critically as well. Now, these are the reality of and these are historic. We cannot simply as a state overlook and pray that it goes away and we wake up in a fine winter morning or a spring morning that no problem exists in the border. It's not going to happen. It would remain there. Crisis and the challenges, how as a state we govern them, use of it within this sparing, worrying influences, how Bangladesh can benefit out of China, India, and America. That is where we need a study and we seriously lack it. So the nexus could be a better for us or even worse for us. It would all depend how a governance, knowledge-based, legitimate, representative governance takes place. That is where the crux is.
Thank you very much, Barrister Fuaad. Dr. Saim, you listen to Barrister Fuaad. You have brought it up everything. And from the point of view of economics, basically you are a financial economist. But above all, you have a very big politics time. You cannot avoid it. Basically, you are a leader. What is your focus?
Well, Dr. Sinha, to be very blunt, as you understand the present reality of our politics right now, we are there. There are 44 registered political parties, and we are amongst the top 5 political parties in the country. Just on the scale of sheer member base, and that is the reality. But the difference between the first and the second largest political party versus the third largest party, there's a big disparity. So the elephants in the room, the Awami League and the BNP, are the two of the significantly largest political parties, controlling approximately 72 to 75% of the total votes. We presently have approximately 3.5% to 4.5%, depending on which polling agency you go to. And the reality is, in the global south, especially in our Bangladeshi context, when you go to southern Bangladesh as well as north of Bangladesh, we have close to 10 to 15% to 20% votes in close to 25 to 30 constituencies. Now, the reality is, in 2024, the 12th national parliamentary election, what we saw was a unique decorum of national politics, and this was actually very unprecedented in the sense that we wanted to fill the vacuum that was left behind, especially by the second largest political party. But the reality was that we had to withdraw close to 200 of our candidates because the Amali candidate number 1 and the number 2, which was the proxy candidate, were going to eat up most of the votes. And that is not only the present reality. The economics of an election, it's unfathomable what is happening. Even if you go to the union level elections or the Upazila Parishad elections, and especially the parliamentary elections, we don't have the money to spend $3 to $5 million per constituency. We don't have the budget close to 3,000 crore to finance an election campaign. We have the people, no doubt. We have very competent, meritorious, incorruptible, patriotic people, competent people, but we don't have the funds that I do believe our fellow colleagues, our political colleagues on the opposition side of the aisle, as well as on the side of the ruling party have. And the sheer disparity over the past 15 years is unquestionable right now. And what we saw was that most of our candidates, while they're electable, while they're competent, and while I do believe that they could really serve the state in terms of rule of law, establishment of rule of law, and really standing up for what we believe was just and right for the constituents, it is near an impossibility to overturn the present economic practices as well as the political practices that happen in our election campaign. So politics is one thing. National politics is one element of our election cycle, but the reality on the grounds is vastly different. We wanted to participate in the Upazila Parishad elections. In the 12th parliamentary elections, we filed close to 233 candidates all over Bangladesh. We're the third highest political party with the highest number of nominations filed. But the reality was we knew very well on that the economics of the election, and I went to the election commissioners, I pleaded to them that if you don't put a cap on the expense that a candidate can bear, and if you give them a blank check, any competent candidate will be outbid by corrupt politicians or businessmen. Professor Rezwana just recently spoke, Barrister Fuaad also spoke, and our Honorable Mr. Mahbub also spoke very profoundly about the Bangladeshi context. And I really plead to the ruling party members as well that if we want to filter out and bring on board into our mainstream political arena people that really love the country, people that really want to help the country, we really need to empower these voices. Even in the Awami League, if you go to my Faridpur district, I know competent Awami League members that have served the party for over 40-50 years, but today they're not even capable of becoming union president, and it's simply because the lack of financial capacity. And the bidding war at the grassroots level is so disparaging. I don't believe, honestly, that in the next 5 to 10 years, as things stands, I will be able to participate in an election cycle with the bidding war that happens at the grassroots level. Even on the election day itself, if you have approximately 500 to 700 agents, giving them 5,000, 10,000 taka each, people can't afford this anymore. And never mind across 300 constituencies. And this is the biggest reality right now. If you look at the financial reality of the BNP versus the Awami League, the disparity is colossal. It is bigger than the Statue of Liberty. And the disparity over time is widening every single day. And regardless of what the BNP says or what the 20-party alliance says or the 36-party alliance members say, the economic reality has a profound effect on the political consequences. And before we saw that Jamaat Islam was extremely well funded through the Islami Bank as well as Manarat University, as well as the financial institutions, as well as the healthcare institutions, whether it's Ibn Sina Pharmaceuticals, but we saw a crackdown on these financial institutions. So even the BNP, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, which had eminent businessmen or large corporate donors, are on the brink of a collapse altogether. And if they're not able to gather the funding that is required to participate in an election cycle, it's no longer 300 crore for 300 constituencies. It's well over 3,000 crore. Every single constituency requires a minimum expenditure of 10 to 12 crore. This is just to contest. And if you want to win, you have to spend at least 30 to 50 crore. It's becoming a near impossibility. So while I'm very passionate about my country and the state of affairs, I really don't think I have an electoral future as things stand. And this is the reality. While we do have 1.2 million direct members, we have close to 2.5 million supporters nationwide. Even in a position of significant capacity to influence our national politics, we believe the disparity is too far-fetched. And there has to be greater control by our electionary as well as our monetary bodies to bring some level of equilibrium in our politics. Otherwise, we will lose our politics to the corrupt as well as to the businesses that loot. I have no problem with businessmen coming into our political fray. I have no qualms. But if it is at the expense of our national politics or at the expense of our democratic practices, then the consequences are extremely disparaging for the sanctity and for the welfare of our state. And this comes from a very personal experience that I have. I really wish that I could participate in the last election, but financially speaking, it's the difficulty comes when it comes, in 15 days, we don't have the capacity to spend, 30 crore. So a net spend of 2 crore per electoral day over a 15-day cycle is near impossible. And that is the reality. I know, Barrister Fuaad, you are presently at a very responsible delegation in terms of leading the AB party, and you understand the economics of politics right now. And the reality is that people, we choose not to face the reality or disclose the reality of the situations of the grounds, but I do feel that it's important for the viewers, whoever may listen, to understand the dynamics of our Bangladeshi electoral cycles. But this has to change. I've spoken to members of the ruling party as well. I've spoken to the members of the opposition. I've spoken to members of the judiciary. I've spoken to many, many distinguished members of the civil society. And there has to be a unanimous body that comes together, brings all the political personnel in our political arena, regardless of which side of the political aisle they're on, and come to a national consensus regarding how we should structure our election cycle, because we will have no space in the next 5 to 10 years.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Saim. You spoke very well. Now I move to Advocate Syed Mamun Mahbub. You are just at 5 minutes time, because we have to conclude, because there are some problems technically in the Facebook. What is your analysis, last analysis, please? Only 5 minutes.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Noni Palkiwala, one of the eminent lawyers of this subcontinent, in his very popular literature, We the People, he narrated, when republic is born, it is the leaders who create institutions, and later on, institutions create leaders. And this is the ideal scenario of a democratic state. But our tragedy is that since 1972, we have not tried to build the institutions, but rather we took all steps, even in our constitutional framework, to destroy all those institutions, and became make the Prime Minister as the new Tsar of Russia in the name of Prime Minister of Bangladesh. The more power than the Tsar had in the Russia. So that is the main problem. Unfortunately, even in the dark days of Pakistan, while we are in the part of Pakistan, in East Pakistan, I would like to say, because my co-discussants, Mr. Fuaad and Dr. Saim, had discussed very important matters, the geopolitical and various figures they narrated. So I would not like to reiterate that. One of the basic thing is that when I asked Mr. M. Amirul Islam, you all know them, one of the members of the constituent body, and I asked Mr. Amirul Islam, sir, why you deputed all power to the post of Prime Minister? Then his honest answer was that we all believed upon Bangabandhu. We thought, since he fought most of the period of his life for democracy and for people's right, for independence of judiciary, so we believed him. And with all respect to Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujib, he replied very nicely by converting the state from democratic state to a one-party state in 1975. The deviation started from there. I would like to narrate one very important example. I believe Mr. Fuaad, Dr. Rezwana, Dr. Saim, and you, Dr. Sinha, will find very amusing. In 1961, while there was a national committee for celebrating the birthday of Rabindranath Tagore, Mr. Syed Mahbub Moshed was selected as chairman of that committee to celebrate the birthday of Kavi Guru. And now you imagine Ayub Khan, and in his books, Masters Not Friends, Friends Not Masters, or every literature or every book, because Pakistani generals are a lot number of Pakistani generals had written their books, and I believe Mr. Fuaad understand more clearly that in all those statements, he narrated in his statement in exculpatory nature that no, we did not kill or continue the genocide. It is other generals. However, so the Pakistani ruler thinks that the Rabindranath is the villain for division of Pakistan because his literature and other things. So he was the enemy of Pakistan. But Ayub Khan did not disturb Syed Mahbub Murshid, the then Chief Chief Justice of East Pakistan. Now you imagine to celebrate the birthdays far away. If any judge or any office of the Attorney General or any government employee can meet with Dr. Yunus and to say, how, Mr. Yunus, how are you? So this is the very bad condition, the politics of hostility, the political vengeance. What Dr. Saim said, maybe yes, it's true that remaining in power last for the 15 years, naturally Awami Leaguers, not all Awami Leaguers, the most powerful Awami Leaguers surrounding to the power circle, they have amassed a lot of money, public money and all things. They're multi-billionaire, millionaire. We are observing or we are witnessing every day. But what has missed by my learned friend, Dr. Saim, that everything will be changed because I am not pessimist. Whenever this government will go, then they will try to hide those money. So the problem is not the money at all. Yes, there was the criminalization of politics. Finance is one matter, but the basic feature in our country now is that I don't think I fully disagree my learned with Dr. Saim, because my understanding, I am a very little man, but I understand something very clearly. Under the Sheikh Hasina government, the national election is far away. No library committee election be held. You take it. It is decided. Just last 28 and 29 February, in Dhaka Bar Association election, lawyers election, they have destroyed the election. They legally rigged, and they tortured the other lawyers, and they have done the same thing which they have been doing in the last 15 years. So under the Sheikh Hasina regime, no election can be held. So either national parliament election or any other body's election. So these things we need to understand.
Mamun, Mahbub, your message is very much clear. Well, our last speaker, Professor Dr. Rezwana, what is your conclusion, please?
Thank you. It was really very nice to hear Dr. Saim, Mamun, Mahbub, and Barrister Fuaad, of course. My last comments on that, the thing is that I do believe the economic impact of the constitution and the electoral process is very important. And I was wondering whether we have heard that we are swimming in the development, and there's lots of development happening. Everybody got the money, and our richest people, if you go for Bangladeshi richest people, you can find there a couple of the names who are a part of the ruling government as well. So the question is that who got the money and who lost the money? There is two type of classes is developing in this country. Like one people have a huge amount of money, and other people doesn't have any form of access to even they cannot access their living expenses. So this separation, this alienation, and this disconnectivity of the people, and this class difference is really huge impact of our internal politics. And I also want to confirm we need to very, very careful in terms of international relationship, whether it is geopolitics or any other thing. We Bangladeshi people and Bangladesh as a territory can the other countries, if it's India or if it's China or it's Russia, or even US, they are trying to weaponize us as a country. They are trying to weaponize Bangladesh as a nation, Bangladesh geopolitical location, to control over the other nation. So we need to very much concern, or very much significantly, we need to put our emphasis what's going on, because our geopolitical crisis is very much depending on the other nations controlling power. So that's very important. I would like to conclude just last one thing, like that there is a concept of Michel Foucault, which is called biopolitics, when the people by themselves serving the nation, people by themselves serving the state, they don't know that how they are a part of this authoritative government. This is really very important, because people are thinking at that moment, okay, I can manage, and this is my I have my money, so I have some sort of norms, and we are not a part of the country, we are not a part of the election, or we are not a part of the international geopolitics at all. So therefore people are disconnected with those things, and we really need to understand our economy as well, because we are in our country, we're not producing anything, we're not selling anything. Only the human being, the cheap labor, is our capital. Even you go for the freelancer, if you can see that everywhere people are the capital. So this is very alarming, that we cannot produce any product that we can sell out. We cannot produce any sort of manpower or any particular expertise that can sold out in the international market. So that thing need to be acknowledged, and that thing need to be addressed if you want to contribute our economy, and if you want to make it a strong economy. So this crisis need to be addressed, and also we need to focus on that whether the geopolitical location has been used, that other country or nation has been weaponized us in a different manner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, you all. We are about to end this talk show. And before ending the talk show, I have to summarize what the speakers already highlighted here. All the speakers more or less talk about the geopolitics. At the same time, they're very much aware of the interest of Bangladesh. And they also feel that party in power is very much serious to compromise everything to retain power. And that is one of the fundamental flaws in the politics of Bangladesh. At the same time, Rezwana being an anthropologist, he focused on the political culture, traditional political culture. But we believe the political culture of Bangladesh should be in such a position which can match the situation with the coming generation, coming science and technology and AI technology. But thing is that it is very much challenging for us how to cope up with the challenges of the 21st century. Barrister Fuaad is very much an enlightened person. He always trust on the very critical and cardinal points, and he did it. And Dr. Saim, being an economist, basically, he tried to highlight what the present standing of economy Bangladesh is. At the same time, he is the senior vice chairman of Zaker Party, and unfortunately, he is the grandson of the founder of Zaker Party and son of the present chairman of Zaker Party. And basically, he is supposed to be the next chairman of Zaker Party. So his thoughts are very diverse. He tried to make us understand that he's having talks with all the political parties, including the election commission, intellectuals, civil societies, because he has a vision and mission. And we believe he's in a position to make his mission a success. At the same time, Mamun Mahbub, being a lawyer, he always speaks very logically and argumentatively. And his vision and mission is only one. He would like to see Bangladesh where life is peaceful, where life is full of security, where life is full of positivity. At the same time, Professor Rezwana, being an anthropologist, she believes today or tomorrow Bangladesh will be a better abode for all the people living here. And we also believe, and from this very talk show, which is called ABC Real Time Talk Show in English, we also believe the speakers, whatever they think, whatever they feel, all this in course of time shall have immediate impact on our national life. And thank you very much. We'll meet you again, and thank you very much. Well.